Hello and welcome to Volunteering Essentials. My name is Jessica and I'm the Member Relations Coordinator at Volunteering and Contact ACT. At this session, you'll discover key characteristics of the volunteering sector, develop an understanding of your rights and your responsibilities as a volunteer, and explore your role as a volunteer. So what is volunteering? Volunteering is time willingly given for the common good without financial gain. Volunteering Australia undertook a review of this definition in 2015, and this stands as the current definition for volunteering in Australia. The reason that this definition was reviewed was that the old definition prior to 2015 stated that volunteering had to take place in a not-for-profit organisation. You'll see from this new definition that that's no longer the case. To unpack this definition a little bit more, let's start with time willingly given. Volunteers should never be exploited or used to replace paid employment. And volunteers should give of their time willingly for the common good. This aligns with the United Nations definition that volunteering should be for the common good. Looking a little closer to home, this could mean the common good for the Canberra community or for the Australian society more broadly. And finally, without financial gain. This simply means that you as a volunteer do not receive financial reimbursement for your time. The State of Volunteering in Australia report. This report was released by Volunteering Australia in late 2016. The report investigated a few key questions. Is there an alignment between the types of roles volunteers want to undertake and the sectors that they're interested in? Is there an appropriate framework to support volunteering? And finally, what are the necessary steps to be taken to future-proof volunteering? Some of the key findings from the report suggested that there is a disconnect between the volunteering roles that people are interested in and the roles that organisations are offering. And this misalignment means that organisations need to market on a really wide front to attract volunteers. The report showed that volunteers find out about volunteering from a wide variety of sources. Internet, family and friends, and the media are all valuable starting points for people to find volunteering opportunities. And organisations need to be flexible to meet this need and need to be creative in the volunteering arrangements they offer to individuals. The Giving in Australia 2016 report estimated that 43.7% of adult Australians volunteered over 932 million hours per year. This means that the average volunteer gives 134 hours over the course of 12 months, which is 2.5 hours per week. Percentage-wise, this is an increase, as there was only 41% of adult Australians volunteering in 2005. So that number has actually increased from 836 million hours in 2005 to 932 million hours in 2016. Going back to the State of Volunteering report in Australia, the report looked at how satisfied people were with their volunteering experience. 99% of volunteers said that they would continue to engage in volunteering in the future. 93% said that they saw a positive change as a result of their volunteering effort. And 60% improved their patience skills through volunteering. Interestingly, 86% of volunteer-involving organisations still need more volunteers. A key finding of the report said that volunteer-involving organisations generally lack resources, both human and financial, and this can inhibit their ability to engage volunteers. But regardless of this, they need more. 86% of organisations need more volunteers. Rights and responsibilities. Both volunteers and organisations have certain rights and responsibilities that they must uphold to ensure health and safety of all volunteers. When you're starting to look for a volunteering role, it's important to be aware of these rights and responsibilities. Let's look at the organisations first. Organisations have a responsibility to have insurance, to give volunteers a written position description, to provide volunteers with induction and with training, to treat volunteers as staff and respect and value volunteer involvement. Finally, They must allow volunteers to have a say in the organisation. You, as a volunteer, have rights and responsibilities. Let's start with the responsibilities. You have a responsibility to be punctual and reliable, to respect confidentiality, to carry out the duties listed in your volunteer position description, to be accountable, to give notice if your availability changes or if you're leaving the organisation, to report any injuries or hazards that you notice in the workplace, to adhere to the organisation's policies and procedures, to deal with complaints in an appropriate manner, to undertake training as requested, ask for support when needed, and support the other members of your team. Your rights as a volunteer include working in a healthy and a safe environment, receiving an induction or orientation, receiving information about the organisation that you're working for, including policies and procedures, receiving a volunteer position description or a volunteer agreement that outlines the tasks that you'll be expected to perform within the agreed working hours, be provided with sufficient training and supervision, be reimbursed for the necessary out-of-pocket expenses, be protected by appropriate insurance, have your personal information dealt with in a confidential manner, to take holidays, and importantly, to say no if you're uncomfortable or if you feel like you're being exploited. Working with vulnerable people registration. In your volunteering roles and in your everyday life, you're very likely to work alongside and provide services to vulnerable people. A Working with Vulnerable People registration is available in the ACT and combines a general police check and a Working with Children's check. You can apply for a WWVP registration cards at any Access Canberra Service Centre and have these two checks take place. Once these checks have taken place, you'll be issued with a Working with Vulnerable People card. Most organisations in the ACT that engage volunteers, and especially organisations that work with vulnerable people, will require that you have a WWVP before you start volunteering. If you're applying for the card as a volunteer, they waive the $80 fee and you get the card for free. Boundaries. As I mentioned before, often as volunteers, you will come into contact with vulnerable people. It's important to set personal boundaries right from the start so you don't find yourself in a situation where you feel pressured into doing something that you're not comfortable with. There's a few boundaries listed here. Confidentiality and sharing information. This is of the utmost importance that we remember to keep information that's stored with us as volunteers confidential. If you're not sure what information should be confidential or not, discuss this with your volunteer manager. Stick to what's in the guidelines and the policies. Before you undertake your volunteering role, you'll be given guidelines and policies that are appropriate behaviour for you as a volunteer to work within. Make sure you stick within these at all times. Work within your position description. You'll receive a position description when you start your volunteering work. It's important that you work within the position description and duties defined within your description. Ability to say no. This is your right, and it's really important that you make sure that you feel as though that you can say no if you're asked to do something by a client or even your volunteer manager that you're not comfortable with. And finally, remember to be friendly, but not to be friends. If you're working to provide a service to vulnerable people in the community, it's important to be friendly, but it's important that you remember that you're not there to become their best friend. Why volunteer? There are many reasons why people all over the ACT, each and every week, volunteer. The top 3 reasons why people volunteer are to give something back to the community, to help the community, and to make a difference. We did some research around this, and there are another 10 reasons why people volunteer. To connect with your community, to share and to broaden knowledge, to uncover hidden skills or talents that you never knew about, to meet new people, to try something that you've never tried before, to explore career and personal interests, to enrich your education, to build your resume, to support a cause. It's really important for us to identify why we want to volunteer so that when we do, we can clearly articulate this to the organisation that we're helping. This means that both the organisation and the volunteer can get what they want and need out of the volunteering role. If you're not sure what it is that's motivating you to volunteer, there are a few key questions that you can ask yourself. Is there a cause that's close to my heart? Are there particular skills that I'd like to learn or I'd like to contribute? And how much time do I have to commit? If you think about these questions, you'll be able to work out very quickly what it is and why it is that you want to volunteer. The theme for National Volunteer Week is Give Happy, Live Happy. National Volunteer Week is held in the second week of May each year and is an annual celebration to acknowledge the generous contribution of all of the nation's volunteers. The reason that I talk about National Volunteer Week is the theme, Give Happy, Live Happy. There's a lot of research that's gone into this theme, and I want to break down some of the stats for you today. Research shows that volunteers are happier, healthier, and sleep better than those who don't volunteer. Doctors wish that they could recommend it. 96% of volunteers say that it makes people happier, and 95% say that volunteering is related to feelings of well-being. 92% said that they were satisfied or highly satisfied with their volunteering experience. Long-term volunteering is associated with better mental health, and the experience of helping others provides meaning, a sense of self-worth, and a social role and health enhancements. A strong correlation exists between well-being, happiness, health, and the longevity of people who are emotionally kind and compassionate in their charitable helping activities. Volunteering is highly associated with greater health and happiness. So it really does prove that when you give happiness to others through volunteering, you live a happier life yourself. So how can you get involved? You can search for volunteering opportunities on our website, volunteeringact.org.au. You can search via keywords, via time available, and even via your location. You can even search via our interactive map. You can simply hover over the area that you'd like to volunteer in and see the opportunities that are available. Once you find an opportunity that you like, simply click through and express interest for that role. Once you've expressed interest, the organisation who is currently recruiting for volunteers will receive your notification with your details in it and get in contact from there. If you prefer a little bit more of a personalised experience, you can call us up and make an appointment with one of our volunteers to help you find a volunteering opportunity. We can take you through the website and the different opportunities available and help you decide which volunteering opportunity is right for you.